Hi everyone. So this week's lesson so far is a case in point of why we like to use lightweight, uh, free tools where we can. I'm currently stuck in an airport facing a 3.5 hour delay in Ottawa, Canada. Fingers crossed that I actually make it back to New York tonight. But in the meantime, although I'm on a borrowed machine, I figured that I would take this as an opportunity to prepare for next week's lesson. So the really nice thing about the way that we've been approaching this, and this is one of the reasons why we approach it this way, is that because we have begun the process of working off of files that we've stored in the cloud, specifically in this case on GitHub, although our Columbia server is essentially part of the cloud as well. This gives us the ability to kind of work on things from anywhere whenever we need to. So as a result, I'm going to start this week's lesson by kind of looking at GitHub, which we've used basically like, just kind of an upload download location now. I'm going to sort of demo sort of the features of GitHub or I should say of Git, right? So GitHub, again, is the website. So it's this thing. And it's really just an interface. It's a cloud-based version of, it's a cloud-based copy of our programming files that's organized in a way that's kind of easy for us to look at. So, if I come over here to repositories and I look at dataviz A, this is the repo that I've been using. You'll notice that this is actually from our first class. I did the new page and the README file. This is from last week. I did a new file called Newsfeed, the HTML that has some CSS and article links. So this is what you all just completed. I want to build on the work that we did last week, and so I am going to go through the process of doing that with Git. Now, one of the features that you'll notice here, and this is one of the things that we like about Git, is that it shows us the activity and the sort of history of our files, right? And the reason why this is important is because it means that we can keep different versions of things without having to save like 16 different renamed instances of the same file. It also helps us track the work that we've been doing. So what we're seeing here actually is these are my commit messages. So I can actually click on this and go look at the file. You'll see that everything here is green. When I start to make changes to this file and back them up to GitHub, it's going to show me how the file has changed. So everything is showing green here in this case because everything is new. It's added, right? I created this file. There was no file here before, so everything is considered an add. Later, when I start deleting things, moving them around, it's actually going to show me visually how the file has changed, and this is really helpful when you're collaborating in particular, but also when you're working on something over a period of time to kind of basically keep track of what you've been doing, right? This is, again, that documentation aspect is a really important feature of working with data and visualization and code in particular. And of course, we're seeing here that, typography, color, layout, all of this is really important to kind of managing the information that we're dealing with. So there is one option, in the meantime, what some of you may have done is you may have chosen this download as zip option, and then you notice that there's it says clone or download. So download, I think we're all familiar with. Clone. Okay, so what does clone mean? It means literally to copy. And there is a special, and this is a way that we are copying what's on GitHub. We're copying the version of the files that are on the internet right now. But importantly, it's not just the files themselves that we're copying, but all of the metadata, all of the history, right? So all of this information about when they were modified, all of these commit messages, all that's going to come with it, okay? We're not going to interact with it in sort of this nice visual way when we're working with it on our local computer. We're going to be using the command line. Don't worry, it's not that big a deal. It's a very simple, sort of straightforward process. But it's actually easier. There's a reason why I prefer to do it through the command line. I actually think it's cleaner and simpler that way. But, just to say that, it's not going to look like this when we're dealing with it on our computer. But we will be able to sort of resave it up to GitHub again, and then we'll get that nice visual layout of the history of our file, etc. So enough talking, let's try this thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is open a terminal window. So if you, an easy way to get to terminal, if it's not in your, it's not generally in the dashboard, then you can just, go to the search, the Spotlight search on a Mac, on the lab machine, and just type terminal. Terminal comes pre-installed with Mac computer, so if you're on a Mac on your laptop, you can use that. And here's just going to come up with a window. So first thing I want to make sure is that I actually have Git installed. And I checked this already. I didn't have Git installed, I installed it. And we'll go over how to do that. For those of you who want to work on your own machines, we'll go over how to do that in office hours. It is already on the lab machine, so you don't need to worry about that. And of course, the next thing I need to do is I need to actually, again, a repo is basically just a folder, right? So if I'm going to be working on something in a folder, I need to actually create the folder. So I have a couple ways that I can do this. So first, I just kind of want to remove some mystery from the command line. The command line is making changes to our computer in exactly the same way that we can make changes with our mouse and keyboard. Okay, it's just a different interface to the same system. So on terminal, we're interfacing with the computer using only text commands in this very plain black and white box, but it's doing exactly the same thing as if I were using my mouse and keyboard. So let me illustrate. One of the most important commands when we're dealing with a terminal is the ls command. Okay, it's just letter L, letter S. I'm going to hit enter, and what this is showing me is essentially where, if you think of the terminal window here as like a lens, it's where is it positioned in the computer right now. Now I can tell by looking at this, and actually if I look at this part of the command line, it says Kathy Zhang. I borrowed Kathy Zhang's computer. And I'm actually in the user folder here. So I want to get to the desktop because that's where I like to be. So I'm going to use the command CD. CD stands for change directory. And don't worry, there's a reference for all of this that I'll share with you. Okay, so I'm going to say change directory. Again, directory, just another word for folder. And I'm going to say desktop. Now what I did there's a nice shortcut here. Again, computers are fussy. Everything has to be capitalized correctly. But if I start typing out desk, if I hit tab, as long as the number of letters that I have typed uniquely identifies something, right? So I can't just do it with D, because there are 1, 2, 3 folders or directories here that begin with D. But there's only one that begins with desk. So if I hit tab, it will actually auto-complete for me. It's a really handy thing. And I'm going to hit return. Okay, so now you notice that this bit on the left-hand side has changed here. It's showing that I'm on the desktop of the user Kathy Zhang. This is actually like a breadcrumb trail, so it shows us, it helps us see even from the command line where in the computer we are. So technically right now, even though there's no visual, this terminal window is kind of pointed at the desktop of my computer, just the way my mouse is right now. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate this because if I do an ls here, you notice that it doesn't give me anything. Well, there's actually no folders on my desktop right now. There's actually no files on my desktop right now. So the computer was recently wiped. So, but I need to do some work. So I want to put things in a folder. So now I'm going to do a command called mkdir, which is short for make directory, again, make a folder. And I'm going to make a folder called dataviz 17. Okay, so here's the thing to watch out for. I'm not sure if it's going to appear in my window, but I encourage you to try this one at home. Oh, it's just off the screen. I don't know if you could see this. So when I hit return, it created a folder. Okay, so again, most of us, we probably right-click, choose new folder, type in the folder name. Terminal, just another interface to the same, just another interface to the computer. So I created a folder, and now of course I'm going to change directory into that folder. Okay. Again, if I do ls, which is for list, right? List the files and list the files that are in this current folder or directory. I get nothing because of course my dataviz folder is empty. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So what I want to do is I want to tell the computer, look, I'm going to give you the location of some files on the internet, of a Git repo specifically, and I want you to copy the contents of that repository, again, just a folder, into this location. So to do that, I'm going to use a command called git clone. Okay, and now what goes after this? Well, how do I know what the location is? This is something I'm going to get from GitHub. So when I say, when I click on this clone or download button, you see that it has this URL, right? And actually I can use this little button, it will copy it to the clipboard. So I could choose download zip, open in desktop is for something different. This is the URL, and I'm going to put that in here to tell the repo, hey, by the way, to tell Git, this is the location of the files that I want, of the repo that I want you to copy, and I'm going to hit return. And you see it's given me all of this information, right? And saying, okay, I'm cloning that repo, and I have 9 objects, and this is, okay, I've compressed them, I've downloaded them, I'm done, okay? So now I'm going to do ls again, and actually even before I do that, if I look inside my DataViz folder, my DataViz 17 folder, I see that there's a new folder. Remember, a repo is just a folder called DataViz A. And if I double click on this, what do you know, but my HTML files and that README file are there, okay? So it's a little bit magical, right? It's an automatic download. So in here, I can say, okay, DataViz A, I can change directory into DataViz A, right? And again, the main thing here is just that it's just a really straightforward way to download all my files. And again, to download those files while preserving their history. So again, lots of talk so far. What I want to just demo very quickly before we conclude this is I'm going to go ahead and open this with Aptana. Okay, so you'll see, so I can open it just as okay, what workspace do I want to be in? Well, I think I actually want to be in my DataViz 17 folder. Yeah, let's be in there. It doesn't really matter because I generally individually save files in a folder. And you'll see, because I'll save these files, well, I'll show you in a second. So I need to adjust my Aptana window here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you can see I've just, again, normal right click, open with for Aptana, got me in here. Here's my content. So I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to say, I'm going to call this updated. Okay, so I'm saving this. I made a change. I saved it. Okay, I could do something else, but let's just look at that. Just a very, very simple change. Okay, so I've changed my file. So now I am going to say, I'm going to ask Git, hey, what is the status of the files in my repo? Okay, so what this is going to say is, basically, has anything changed lately? And you notice that I get this message, and it says, hey, listen, something was modified. That newsfeed HTML thing, that's been changed. There's been a change made to that since you last committed this file, since you it's essentially like a save, since you last saved this to Git. Okay, so I can say, oh, okay, well, gee, I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to say git commit A, which stands for all, and then I have to say this -m, and the M is the message, okay? So anytime I kind of save things to Git, right, to my Git repo, to my special Git folder, I have to say what I did. So I'm going to say updated main headline of the page. Okay, see I'm wrapping that in quotes. I hit enter. I don't know, it's giving me a bunch of crap. You can, oh, this is about configuring identities, but don't worry about that. So it's saying one file change, one insertion, one insertion, one deletion. And so now I can say, okay, git push origin master. What does all that mean? Well, Git is the name of the program. I want to push this to the internet, and I want to push it to the master branch. We'll talk about origin in a minute. So now I have to say the username, that's my username, and then I'm going to I remembered my password. Okay, so now here's the money shot, folks. I come back to GitHub, and you notice that it shows my it shows the changes that I made. So I'll be back in a minute. We'll look at this again and do some more.